What is up, dudes and dudettes? I am the Mystical Green Beanie, and welcome to another episode of Hitting the Books, the show where I take a comic that I have read this week and I review it. So, unless you've been living under a rock for the past forever, you'd know that Dynamite has been banking off of nostalgia properties for years, with comics like Shaft and Zorro, which is tits by the way, and I will review Zorro Year 1 in another episode. But yeah, comics like Voltron and Green Hornet, which is also one that I'll review soon, and just so many more. And recently, the latest character to come to their pages is none other than Agent 007 himself, Ian Fleming's James Bond. Now, I have a very unconventional connection to James Bond. Unlike most Bond fans, I wasn't introduced to him through the movies or the Ian Fleming books, but much rather the John Gardner novels, which, to those of you who don't really follow James Bond, is more or less the equivalent of being introduced to the character of Batman through The Dark Knight Returns, but that's a story in and of itself. So, anyways, I'm here to review James Bond 007 VARGR, written by Warren Ellis. So, the story goes a little something like this. The opening sequence is a thrilling chase that ends the only way it could have. Sometime later, Bond is called into MI6, where we, of course, have a cute little moment between Moneypenny and Bond, and then he's called into M's office, where M chews him out for stuff that I won't spoil, but the banter is written pretty well, and the humor is, alright, all I'll say is this. If people don't respond to it, I'll understand why, but personally, I really get a kick out of it. Then, after Bond is given his assignment, he goes to Q, who's clearly John Cleese, and there's a lot of stuff like this throughout the book, and I'll get to that later. But yeah, Q shows Bond his new gadget for his next mission. So after his meeting with Q, he has a sit down with Bill Tanner, which is all nice, and I really enjoyed that. And just before Bond goes out on his next mission, we're treated to a last page reveal which sets up the next issue. Okay, so that's the story dealt with. Now let's get into this art. So the art is done by Jason Masters, whom I only really know from Nightwing Annual Number 1 from the New 52. But aside from that, I'm not all too familiar with his work. But I gotta say, it's pretty good here. It doesn't really break boundaries or anything, but I mean, it's what I'd expect from a Dynamite book. And it delivers. And that's not a bad thing, but you know, the art's good. But in all honesty, the more visually stimulating stuff is thanks to Guy Major. The coloring in this book is great, it's fantastic, and it sets the tone for what I feel should be the way a Bond book should feel. Now on to the things that stood out to me, whether they be good or bad. So starting off with the good, as always, this book looks like a celebration of 007's history, and there's a lot of Easter eggs and references that I really latched onto. Hell, Bond is even drawn exactly like he is in the Ian Fleming sketch. Moneypenny is modeled after Naomi Harris. Q is, as I mentioned earlier, John Cleese from the latter Brosnan films. Tanner is Tanner from the Daniel Craig movies. But funny enough, M isn't any of the M's that we've seen previously. Another thing that I really loved is how this Bond is characterized. And alright, so the thing that attracts me to the character of James Bond is he's a cold-blooded killer, and he's a hardcore alcoholic. But you know, more importantly, a cold-blooded killer. And I feel like a lot of people will get so swept up in the movie incarnations of the character, which isn't a bad thing, but I just feel like, you know, with the exception of the Timothy Dalton and Daniel Craig movies, the film Bonds aren't, they're not how I would imagine James Bond to be. And this comic really captures how I'd imagine James Bond to behave. And if I had one real negative to say about this book, it's that so this issue really does feel like the first 10 minutes of a standard 2-hour Bond flick. Not much happens, but who knows, maybe it'll read better in trade. But as far as floppies go, it's decent. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Ian Fleming's James Bond 007 VARGR, issue number 1 from Dynamite Comics. If I were you, I'd wait to pick up issue 2, because issue 1, while it's written competently, is clearly just setup. But if you really want it, if you're like a hardcore Bond fan like I am, I'm not stopping you. But all I'm saying is I don't want you guys to pay $3.99 for what I feel equates to a $1.99 zero issue. So yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on this book. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below in the comment section. And if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel. If you want to see more content like this, all you gotta do is subscribe. I am the Mystical Green Beanie, and as always, until next time, adios nachos.